The galaxy had grown arrogant. For centuries, alien civilizations had dominated countless star systems, each believing themselves superior to any other life. Empires had fleets that spanned light years, each ship bristling with weapons and shields powerful enough to obliterate planets. Technology, numbers, and speed were the measure of power. Intelligence and strategy were often overlooked. And among them all, humans were a curiosity, nothing more. In the edge of a disputed star system, a lone human warship appeared on the scanners of the dominant alien fleets. Its name, known only to humans, was HMS Perseverance. To the galaxy, it looked outdated, small, and painfully slow. Its hull was angular and heavily reinforced, its engines modest compared to the alien crafts that streaked past like shooting stars. Alien admirals on their command bridges laughed when they first saw it. "Is that it?" said Admiral Tharok of the Varelian Armada, his many eyes blinking in disbelief. "They call that a warship. It barely reaches 10% of our speed," his first officer hissed. "Sir, its shields are basic and its weapon systems are—" "Pathetic," Tharok interrupted. "Send a strike team. Let us enjoy the show." The humans aboard Perseverance were aware of the attention. They did not rush, nor did they panic. Their captain, Elias Varn, stood on the bridge, tall and calm, his hands clasped behind his back. His eyes scanned the holographic projection of the alien fleet. "They are underestimating us," Elias said quietly to his first officer, Lieutenant Mara Venn. "Good. Let them think we are weak. Their arrogance will be their mistake." Mara glanced at him. "But sir, their fleet is enormous. They outnumber us at least 50-1. Elias smiled faintly. "Numbers do not win wars, Mara. Strategy, patience, and courage do. Remember that. The Perseverance had been designed for endurance, not speed. Its engines were capable of steady, reliable travel, and its hull could withstand far more punishment than any alien ship of its size. Its weapons were few, but each shot was precise, each strike carefully calculated. And its crew? The crew was extraordinary. Every man and woman aboard the ship had trained for this moment. Every system, every maneuver, every plan had been drilled until instinct. As the alien fleet approached, their laughter filled their comm channels. They did not bother with warnings. Their massive ships formed into attack formations, their cannons glowing with energy. To the aliens, victory was certain. The first shots were fired. Alien beams sliced through space, their brilliance lighting up the darkness. The Perseverance did not flee. It did not panic. Instead, it moved with deliberate slowness, turning its hull just enough to deflect minor hits. The crew worked like a single organism, each member perfectly in sync. "Shields at 60%, reported the engineer, a young man named Jorik. "We can take another hit, but the structural integrity is stressed." "Keep steady," Elias said. "Wait for the right moment." The aliens grew frustrated. Their weapons, powerful as they were, could not land a decisive blow. The human ship seemed to glide through the onslaught, taking minimal damage while positioning itself carefully. "What is this?" Tharok growled. "Their ship. It shouldn't survive." "Perhaps they are lucky," his officer suggested. "No," Tharok snapped. "Luck runs out. Finish them." The human crew, meanwhile, worked with calm efficiency. Lieutenant Mara operated the targeting systems, sending back precise coordinates for their modest lasers. Though their shots did not destroy the largest alien ships, they found weak points in shields and hulls. Small damages here and there frustrated the alien fleet. Even the smallest hit counted. To humans, every strike was meaningful. They were patient, knowing that a single, well-placed strike could shift the balance. And the aliens, unused to this style of warfare, began to doubt. Hours passed. The alien fleet expected the human ship to break or flee within minutes, not endure hours. But Perseverance held firm. It used gravity fields, debris, and asteroid fragments to maneuver in ways the aliens had not anticipated. "Captain," Mara said, her voice tinged with excitement. "They are getting careless. Their formation is breaking." Elias nodded. "Good, let them. They are too arrogant to see the trap forming." The Perseverance edged closer to the asteroid belt in the system's outer rim. To an untrained eye, it seemed almost suicidal. The belt was dense with massive rocks, some as large as small moons. Navigating it required extreme precision. The aliens, confident in their speed, did not notice the danger ahead. Inside the alien fleet, there were murmurs of unease. Some captains whispered to each other, unsure why their energy beams were not overwhelming the human ship. Thorok's anger grew. "They are mocking us," he shouted. "Destroy that ship before it ruins our reputation." Meanwhile, the human crew continued their calm routine. Engineers monitored the hull for microfractures. Gunners recalibrated weapons to maximize energy efficiency. Communications officers intercepted alien channels, noting the confusion spreading among their enemies. Hours into the skirmish, the first true shift occurred. A smaller alien cruiser, moving too fast and ignoring the hazards of the asteroid belt, was caught by the Perseverance's precise calculations. A single well-timed shot from a plasma cannon struck the ship's engine array. It exploded, sending fragments scattering into the void. "Direct hit," Mara said quietly. "One down." The rest of the alien fleet froze. Their confidence wavered. They had assumed the human ship was a joke. Now it was clear. This single, slow vessel was capable of killing their ships. Thorok's fury knew no bounds. How is this possible?" he bellowed. "Fire everything." The human crew anticipated the next move. They maneuvered carefully, using the asteroid field to their advantage. Aliens, overconfident in speed, crashed into debris or forced sudden evasive maneuvers that left them exposed. Elias stood calmly on the bridge, watching the unfolding chaos. "Patience," he reminded his crew. "Every move counts. Every decision matters. Let them make mistakes. We only need one to win." By the end of the day, several alien ships had been disabled or destroyed, while the Perseverance remained functional, only lightly damaged. The alien commanders were stunned. Their arrogance had failed. Their experience and power had been outmatched by humans' ingenuity, teamwork, and patience. As darkness fell over the system, the Perseverance drifted among the asteroids, its crew exhausted but resolute. Outside, the alien fleet began to retreat, regrouping to avoid further losses. "Sir," Mara said, "they are retreating." "They won't finish this fight today." Elias nodded. "Let them go. Let them carry the story back to their empires. Let them tell everyone that humans are not to be underestimated." The crew breathed a collective sigh of relief, though there was no celebration. They had only survived the first day of what could be a long campaign. The galaxy had mocked them, called them slow, and thought them weak. But today humans had proven that courage. Intelligence and strategy were stronger than arrogance and speed. As the stars twinkled in the void beyond the ship, Elias looked at the distant alien armada disappearing into the darkness. "They will return," he said softly, "and next time, we must be ready." The human warship, slow by every standard the galaxy held, had made its presence known. And the message was clear: humans were not to be underestimated. Above all, the crew knew this truth: speed was not strength. Power was not everything. But unity, perseverance, and cleverness could turn the smallest, slowest ship into a force capable of shaking empires. In the quiet of space, the Perseverance glided on, unassuming, slow, yet more dangerous than any alien fleet had imagined. And in the shadows of distant stars, the galaxy began to whisper of a human warship that could survive anything, and strike back with devastating precision. The galaxy had laughed at humans. They had mocked the Perseverance, calling it the slowest, weakest ship ever to sail the stars. But after the first clash in the asteroid belt, the laughter faded. The ship was still alive, while many alien cruisers were not. Now, in the cold silence of space, the human warship drifted like a shadow. Its hull bore scars from energy blasts, and its shields flickered faintly, but its heart remained strong. The crew, though tired, carried a fire in their eyes. They had stood against the most powerful fleets of the galaxy and survived. Captain Elias Varn stood at the center of the bridge. His hands were still behind his back, his gaze sharp as he studied the tactical map projected before him. Red symbols represented enemy ships. They swarmed like angry insects at the edge of the asteroid field. Blue dots, only one, represented the Perseverance. They regrouped quickly, Lieutenant Maraven said, her voice low but steady. "The Varelians aren't leaving." "They're angry, sir." "Good," Elias replied calmly. "Anger makes them reckless, and reckless enemies are easier to defeat." Around the galaxy, alien commanders had started sharing messages. Some were confused, some furious. How could a single human warship, slow and small, withstand their superior fleets? Was it luck, or was there something more? The Varelian Admiral Thorok refused to retreat. He had never tasted humiliation in battle before. His pride was greater than reason, and his reputation was now at stake. "We will end this," Tharok growled on his command deck. His many eyes glared at the holographic image of the human ship. "They will not leave this system alive. Prepare the assault wings. Surround them. Crush them." His officers bowed and rushed to obey. To them, humans were still an oddity. Strange, stubborn creatures, but Tharok's fury gave them no choice. The calm before the storm inside the Perseverance, the crew worked silently. Engineers checked every circuit, patched every hole, and rerouted power through damaged systems. Every pair of hands moved with purpose. They did not waste time on fear. In the engineering bay, Jorik, the young engineer, wiped grease from his forehead. "Captain," he said over the comm, "we've patched the shields for now, but they won't hold against another full barrage. We'll need something smarter than just taking the hits." Elias's voice came through, calm and steady. "We won't let them control the battle. Trust me, Jorik, keep the engines warm." "Yes, sir," Jorik replied, his heart beating faster. He didn't know how the captain stayed so calm, but that calmness gave the whole crew courage. On the bridge, Mara studied the enemy formation. "They're spreading out, Captain. They're trying to box us in." Elias nodded. "Exactly as expected." He turned to the helm officer. "Helm, prepare to enter the outer asteroid belt. Slow and steady. Make them believe we're retreating deeper." The order was carried out. The Perseverance shifted course, gliding into the rocks. To the aliens watching, it looked like fear. A cornered animal fleeing into a cage. They laughed again, but this time their laughter was nervous. The trap tightens. The alien fleet advanced, their sleek ships darting forward with bright trails of light. They had numbers, speed, and firepower. They believed nothing could stop them, but Elias was watching everything. Every movement of the enemy, every mistake in their formation, every moment they grew careless. His mind worked like a chess master, setting the board piece by piece. "Lieutenant Mara," he said, "target their lead cruiser. But don't destroy it, just hit the engines. We want them to slow down." "Yes, Captain." Mara's hands moved quickly, aligning the ship's modest plasma cannon. She fired. A single bright bolt cut through space, striking the cruiser's engines. Sparks flew as its thrusters failed, and the massive ship spun out of control, crashing into nearby asteroids. The alien formation wavered. Some ships swerved to avoid the wreckage. Others hesitated. "Now," Elias said, his voice sharp. "Helm, cut power. Let us drift." The crew obeyed without question. The ship's engines dimmed, and the Perseverance floated silently among the rocks. To the aliens, it looked as though the humans had lost power. The mocking laughter returned. "They're dead already," an alien captain shouted over comms. "Finish them." Dozens of alien ships surged forward. But Elias was waiting for this. "Now, full reverse," he ordered calmly. "Spin the ship, fire all forward batteries." The Perseverance roared to life. Its engines blasted in reverse, pulling it out of the enemy's expected line of fire. Its cannons lit up, precise and deadly. Plasma bolts struck weak points, tearing holes into 3 enemy ships at once. Explosions rippled through the darkness. The aliens screamed in shock. Their prey had turned into a predator. The battle of wits, the fight raged for hours. The alien fleet tried to crush the humans with raw firepower. But every time they thought victory was near, the Perseverance slipped away with a clever maneuver. When they fired from a distance, Elias used asteroids as shields. When they tried to flank, he slowed the ship suddenly, forcing them to overshoot and expose themselves. Every move the humans made was unexpected, clever, and precise. Inside the alien flagship, Admiral Tharok's fury boiled. "How are they doing this? They're slow, weak, inferior." His officer trembled. "Sir, perhaps they are not fighting with strength. Perhaps they are fighting with something else." Tharok slammed his clawed hand against the console. "Nonsense. Crush them. I will not be humiliated by primitives." But humiliation was already spreading. In alien channels across the galaxy, reports were flying. The human ship still survives. The humans are outsmarting them. Perhaps humans are more dangerous than we thought. The legend of the slow human. Warship was being born. Inside the Perseverance, though, they fought bravely. The crew of the Perseverance felt the strain. Shields flickered dangerously. Weapons overheated, and the ship's hull groaned with each hit. In the med bay, wounded crew members were treated quickly, then returned to their stations. None of them wanted to leave their posts for long. Every hand mattered. Every person was part of the machine that kept the ship alive. Jorik in engineering yelled over comms, Captain, the main cannon is overheating. We can't fire more than 2 bursts without risking a meltdown. Understood, Elias replied. Then make every shot count. Fire only when I give the order. Mara glanced at him. Sir, we can't keep this up forever. Even with tactics, we'll run out of energy eventually. Elias's eyes were calm, unshaken. We don't need forever, Mara. We only need long enough to break their will. The turning moved, the alien fleet pressed harder, sensing the humans' exhaustion. Dozens of sleek ships surrounded the asteroid field, tightening the noose. They think they have us, Mara said. That's what I want them to think, Elias replied. His voice was calm, almost cold. Helm, prepare to dive into the densest part of the belt. Full power to engines. Let them chase us. The Perseverance plunged into the storm of asteroids. Rocks tumbled everywhere, spinning in chaotic paths. It was a graveyard for any fast-moving ship. The aliens, blinded by pride, followed. Their speed, once their greatest strength, now turned against them. They smashed into rocks, tore their own hulls, and fired wildly, hitting each other in the confusion. Meanwhile, the humans glided with precision. Every turn, every burst of engine power was calculated. The crew's discipline and Elias's foresight turned chaos into advantage. Fire aft cannons, Elias commanded. Bolts streaked out, striking 2 alien ships trapped in the rocks. They exploded, lighting up the field. The alien fleet panicked. It's a trap, one shouted over comms. We're losing too many ships. But it was too late. Aftermath hours later, silence returned to the belt. Debris from alien ships floated among the asteroids. Fires burned in the void, slowly dying in the vacuum. The Perseverance drifted out of the field, scarred but still alive. Its crew was exhausted but proud. They had faced overwhelming numbers again and forced the enemy to retreat in shame. On the bridge, Mara leaned back, breathing heavily. Captain, we survived again. Elias nodded, his expression steady. And with each survival we grow stronger. But they will return, and next time they'll come with even more. Mara hesitated. Do you think we can keep doing this? Elias looked out at the stars. His eyes burned with quiet fire. We don't need to be the fastest. We don't need to be the strongest. We only need to be the cleverest. And that, Lieutenant, is something humans excel at. As the Perseverance continued its slow journey, messages spread across the galaxy. Stories of the human warship circulated in hushed whispers. Some laughed nervously. Others shivered in fear. But one thing was certain. The galaxy had begun to respect humanity, not for speed, not for numbers, but for something far greater. The slow warship, once mocked by all, was turning into the most dangerous legend in the stars. The galaxy had seen many wars. Empires had risen and fallen. Fleets had burned entire worlds, and rulers had written their names in the stars with fire. But never before had the galaxy seen something like the Perseverance. It was a single ship, old by alien standards, slow compared to every other vessel in the system, and carrying a small human crew. Yet it had survived 2 battles against fleets much larger and stronger. The aliens had mocked it, laughed at it, and dismissed it as a primitive relic. Now whispers spread across the stars. Perhaps the humans are not as weak as we thought. Perhaps this slow ship is more dangerous than 1,000 fast ones. The calm. After the second battle on the bridge of the Perseverance, the crew was quiet. Lights flickered, sparks fell from damaged panels, and the air smelled faintly of burned wiring. Shields were weak, weapons overheated, and energy reserves low. But the crew was alive, and their ship still moved. Captain Elias Varn stood tall at the center of the bridge, his face calm, though his body carried the same exhaustion as the others. His crew looked at him for strength, and he gave it with every word and every action. Report, Elias said firmly. Lieutenant Mara Venn scanned her console. We've lost 30% of our shield generators. Hull plating is cracked in 4 sections. 2 cannons are offline. But engines are still running. Elias nodded slowly. Good, engines are all we need. Jorik's voice crackled over the comm from engineering. Captain, I'll need at least 6 hours to bring the weapons back to full power. We've patched what we could, but any more fighting right now would be dangerous, Elias answered, steady as always. Do what you can, Jorik, that's all I ask. The crew knew what he meant. They did not need perfection. They only needed enough to survive the next storm. The enemy's fury far from the asteroid belt, the alien fleet regrouped. Admiral Tharok stood on the deck of his flagship, his eyes burning with rage. His reputation was shattered. Twice he had promised to crush the humans. Twice he had been forced to retreat. He struck the table with his claws, the sound echoing through the chamber. This cannot continue. They are mocking us. A single primitive ship is turning the galaxy's eyes against us. If we do not destroy them, the Varelian armada will be a laughingstock. His officers shifted uneasily. Some dared not speak. Finally, one gathered courage. Admiral, the humans, they do not fight like anyone we have faced before. They are slow, yes, but every move they make is calculated. They turn our strengths into weaknesses, Tharok snarled. Are you suggesting we fear them? The officer bowed his head quickly. No, Admiral, only that. We must take them seriously. Tharok's rage quieted for a moment, but only a moment. He spread his claws across the star map. Then we will crush them seriously. Call for reinforcements. I want every available ship in this sector here. If it takes an armada to destroy them, then so be it. Let the galaxy see that the Varelians do not forgive insults. Messages were sent across the stars. Dozens of ships began moving toward the contested system. The humans had won battles, but now a storm greater than ever was coming. Inside the Perseverance, the humans repaired what they could. In the medbay, doctors worked with calm hands, treating burns and broken bones. In the mess hall, crew members shared quiet meals, speaking little but finding comfort in each other's presence. On the bridge, Mara studied the tactical charts. Captain, if they return with more ships, I don't know if we can survive. Even with tactics, their numbers will be overwhelming. Elias looked at her. His expression was calm, but his eyes carried steel. Do you remember the first lesson in strategy, Mara? She frowned slightly. That every strength hides a weakness. Exactly, Elias said. He gestured at the map. The Varelians believe in speed and numbers, but speed is useless in an asteroid field. And numbers mean nothing if you cannot bring them all to bear at once. Their strength is their pride, and pride makes them blind. Mara nodded slowly. She still felt the weight of fear, but her captain's words gave her strength. The enemy returns. 6 hours later, the scanners lit up. The Varelian armada had returned. Not dozens of ships this time, hundreds. The sky outside the asteroid belt glowed with the light of engines. A vast swarm of ships moving as one. The crew of the Perseverance watched in silence. Some swallowed hard. Others whispered prayers, but no one abandoned their post. Hundreds of ships, Mara whispered. Sir, this is more than just a battle. This is extermination. Elias stood tall. Then we will show them what extermination looks like when turned against the arrogant. The alien admiral's voice filled the comms, loud and furious. Human captain, this ends today. You have embarrassed me for the last time. I will tear your ship apart and scatter your ashes across the stars. No one will remember your name. Elias answered calmly, his voice steady. Admiral Tharok, I am not here for names. I am here to remind you and the galaxy that arrogance has a price. Then the channel closed. The battle had begun. The trap in the belt. The Perseverance slipped deeper into the asteroid field. The aliens pursued, confident in their overwhelming numbers, but numbers made them clumsy. The belt was a graveyard for fast ships. Rocks the size of cities drifted slowly, pulled by invisible gravity wells. Dust clouds hid smaller asteroids, sharp as blades. The humans had studied this field for hours. They knew every curve, every danger. The aliens did not. Helm, bring us around to Sector 9, Elias ordered. Engineering, divert all power to maneuvering thrusters. Weapons only when I give the signal. The Perseverance moved like a shadow, slow but precise. The aliens swarmed after it, firing blindly into the rocks. Their beams shattered asteroids, sending debris flying into their own ships. Crashes echoed through space as fast-moving vessels slammed into hidden dangers. On the human bridge, Mara's eyes widened. It's working, Captain. They're destroying themselves. Elias's voice was calm. Patience. Let them come deeper. The trap is not closed yet. The turning strike for hours, the chase continued. The Perseverance drew the enemy deeper and deeper, weaving through the belt like a spider luring flies into a web. Finally, Elias gave the order. Now, fire all forward cannons. Plasma bolts lit the darkness, striking carefully chosen targets. Engines, weapon arrays, shield emitters. Each human shot found its mark. 3 alien ships exploded at once, their fireballs scattering debris that tore through nearby vessels. The asteroid belt turned into chaos. Alien ships collided, panicked, and fired at shadows. The humans struck again and again, Each shot precise, each maneuver deadly. On the alien flagship, Therok roared in fury. "Hold your formation! They are only one ship!" But his fleet was collapsing. In the narrow spaces of the belt, their numbers were useless. Their speed was their enemy. Their pride was their downfall. The end of the battle, when the dust settled, the asteroid field was filled with wreckage. Dozens of alien ships had been destroyed, dozens more crippled. Fires burned silently in the void, glowing against the dark rocks. And through it all, the Perseverance emerged, scarred but alive. Its engines burned steadily, its weapons ready, its crew proud. On the alien flagship, silence fell. Admiral Therok's many eyes stared at the destruction around him. His pride was gone, his fleet was broken, and one thought filled his mind. The humans cannot be underestimated. He gave the only order left to him. Retreat. The alien fleet pulled back, limping away into the dark. The legend grows as the Perseverance drifted free of the asteroid field. The crew let out a collective breath. Some cheered, some cried, but all felt the same truth. They had not just survived. They had won. On the bridge, Mara turned to Elias, her eyes shining. "Captain, we've done it. We've beaten them again." Elias's face remained calm, though a faint smile touched his lips. "We've proven our point, Lieutenant. But this war is not over. The galaxy will not forget this battle, and neither will we." Messages began spreading across the stars. Reports of the battle reached every empire, every council, every ruler. Stories of the slow human warship that destroyed fleets with cunning and patience grew louder with every telling. The galaxy, once mocking, now trembled with unease. Humanity had stepped onto the stage of galactic history, and they had done it not with speed, not with numbers, but with intelligence, courage, and unity. Closing scene of Part 3, the Perseverance sailed slowly through the stars, leaving the wreckage of the battle behind. Its crew rested, its captain planned, and its legend grew. The galaxy had underestimated humans. Now it would never make that mistake again. For the first time in history, the galaxy shuddered at the thought of what humanity might do next, and at the center of it all was a slow, scarred warship that had turned the arrogance of an empire into dust. The galaxy was restless. News had spread far and wide about the slow human warship, HMS Perseverance. What was once the target of mockery had become the subject of endless debates across alien systems. Some species refused to believe the rumors, dismissing them as exaggerations or lies. Others, especially those who had seen the ship in battle, knew better. They had watched entire fleets crumble against its clever maneuvers and unshakable resolve. But the great empires could not allow one human vessel to undermine their dominance. Pride demanded revenge. So they gathered an armada. It was the largest coalition fleet ever seen in that sector. Hundreds of ships from different empires, united under one purpose: to destroy the human warship and prove once and for all that humanity was no threat to galactic order. The calm before the storm, Captain Elias Varn stood on the bridge of the Perseverance, watching the stars ahead. His ship was already scarred from earlier battles, armor plating cracked in places, some weapons offline, and energy reserves running low. The crew knew what awaited them. Reports confirmed the coalition fleet was moving fast, spreading across space like a storm front. Even the calmest officers felt the pressure. Lieutenant Kara spoke quietly at her station. "Captain, their numbers are overwhelming. Even with every trick we have, I don't see how we can last against so many." Elias did not answer right away. His hands rested calmly behind his back as he stared at the star map. The slow blinking dot of their warship looked tiny compared to the mass of ships closing in. Finally, he said, "We have never matched them in speed, size, or firepower. That has never been our way. What we do have is the ability to think differently, and that is what will keep us alive." The crew exchanged glances. His voice carried no panic, only steady certainty. That steadiness spread like quiet fire through their hearts. Ensign Darius leaned forward. "So what's the plan?" A small smile appeared on Elias's face. "We make them chase shadows. The trap is set." The Perseverance drifted into a barren system where broken moons and drifting debris orbited a dim, dying star. To most fleets, it was a dangerous wasteland, a place avoided for its unpredictable gravitational pulls and collapsing asteroid belts. To Elias, it was the perfect battlefield. "Activate signal decoys," he ordered. All across the system, drones were launched. Each one emitted human ship signatures, confusing enemy sensors. To the coalition armada, it looked as if a small fleet of human warships had suddenly appeared. The enemy's commanders grew tense. Their original plan, to overwhelm a single slow vessel, now seemed uncertain. They divided their ships, chasing false readings, scattering their formation. Just like we hoped, Kara muttered with a grin. But Elias wasn't celebrating yet. It won't take them long to see through the trick. When they do, we'll already be inside their lines. The Perseverance, cloaked in debris, slid silently between the divided fleets. The first strike when the enemy least expected it. The human warship attacked. Its cannons roared, tearing through a cruiser's engine core. A second alien vessel turned too late and collided with drifting rocks, breaking apart under its own speed. Panic spread across the coalition's comm channels. The ship they mocked as too slow to fight was moving in unpredictable patterns, striking at weak points and vanishing into the chaos of debris. On the bridge, the crew worked like one mind. Orders were short, sharp, and carried out instantly. Shields flickered, weapons rotated, and energy rerouted in perfect harmony. But every strike came at a cost. The Perseverance took damage as enemy fire rained down. The ship shook, lights flickered, and alarms wailed. Still, Elias's voice remained calm. Hold steady. Remember, we don't need to win in strength. We win in patience. Psychological warfare hours passed, and the battle raged on. The enemy fleet, frustrated and desperate, grew reckless. They wasted ammunition on decoys, crashed into asteroids, and even fired at one another in confusion. The humans added another layer to the chaos, false comm signals. Kara manipulated the enemy channels, sending fabricated orders that looked authentic. Some alien captains received commands to retreat, others to charge. The Armada's unity shattered further. They don't trust each other anymore, Kara said, astonished. That's the point, Elias replied. War is not only about weapons, it's about minds. Break the mind and the fleet follows. Soon, groups of alien ships were fleeing the system entirely, unwilling to continue fighting an opponent that seemed everywhere at once. There were coalition strikes back, but the coalition had not gathered its greatest ships for nothing. From hyperspace emerged the Dominion Breaker, a colossal dreadnought. It dwarfed the Perseverance 100 times over. Bristling with weapons capable of reducing moons to dust, the crew of the human ship froze as the monster appeared on sensors. Captain, Darius whispered, that ship could destroy us with a single broadside. Elias studied the massive vessel. His voice was quiet but firm. Then we won't give it the chance. The dreadnought began firing, its beams cutting through asteroids like paper. The shockwaves rocked the Perseverance, but Elias ordered the ship closer. Closer, Kara gasped. That's suicide. Closer, Elias repeated calmly. The warship, battered and slow, pushed forward directly into the shadow of the dreadnought. The coalition commanders laughed, believing the humans had given up. They readied their final strike, the final gamble at the last moment. The Perseverance released its last reserve of drones. They did not scatter this time. Instead, they linked together, forming a reflective shield wall around the dreadnought's main cannon. When the great weapon fired, its own energy ricocheted back into its hull. The explosion was blinding. The Dominion Breaker split apart, flames bursting from its sides as its own weapon destroyed it. The shockwave threw the Perseverance into a spin, alarms screaming. Fires burned across its decks. But the dreadnought, the pride of the coalition, was gone. For a moment, silence reigned. Then slowly, alien ships began to retreat. Their morale was broken beyond repair. Aftermath, the Perseverance floated among the wreckage. Its hull was blackened, weapons exhausted, and power nearly gone. The crew sat in silence, their breaths heavy, hearts racing. Finally, Kara broke the silence. We actually did it. Elias sank into his chair, his face calm but his eyes heavy with exhaustion. We survived. That was always the goal. Across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. The Coalition's greatest armada had been defeated by a single human warship. The tale grew larger with every telling. The slow ship that outthought an empire. The crew that turned weakness into strength. The captain who never lost his calm. The galaxy had mocked the Perseverance. Now they whispered its name with awe and fear, and humanity's place among the stars had changed forever. Closing of Part 4, the Perseverance, though damaged, continued its journey through the stars. Behind it lay the wreckage of the greatest fleet ever assembled. Ahead lay uncertainty but also respect. Captain Elias stood on the bridge looking out at the stars. He knew more challenges would come, but he also knew one truth had been carved into the galaxy's memory. Speed, size, and power were not the true measure of strength. Perseverance was. The galaxy was quiet after the Great Battle, where once the Coalition's armada had stretched across the stars in endless lines. Now only debris drifted in the void. The HMS Perseverance, battered and scarred, floated alone in the silence. Its engines flickered weakly. Its hull carried wounds from countless strikes, and yet it still lived. Inside, the crew sat in tired silence. Their eyes showed exhaustion, but also something more, pride. They had done the impossible. The aftermath of victory. On the bridge, Captain Elias Varn leaned against his chair. He looked at the faces of his crew. Kara at the communication console, Darius at navigation, Ensign Lyra at weapons. Every one of them had given their all, pushing beyond limits. They were not the strongest or fastest, but they had endured. The hum of failing systems filled the silence. Sparks hissed from broken panels. Yet the ship's heart still beat. Kara finally spoke, her voice low but steady. "Captain, we should send a signal to Earth. They need to know what happened here." Elias nodded. "Yes, but not only Earth. Let the galaxy hear. Every corner. Every world." With a few commands, Kara began transmitting the battle recordings. The galaxy would see the dreadnought's explosion, the chaos of the Coalition, and the human ship that had stood against it all. The message was simple. We endured. We will always endure. Across the stars, the transmission spread like wildfire. In distant trading stations, merchants paused their work to watch the holoscreen, jaws dropping as they saw the mighty Dominion breaker destroyed by its own weapon. In border colonies, whispers turned into cheers. In alien capitals, leaders sat in silence, unable to deny what they had seen. The humans, once dismissed as a primitive species, had shown something terrifying to the galaxy. They had shown resilience. Many races measured strength in speed and numbers, in size of weapons. But humans had revealed another kind of strength: the will to survive, the ability to adapt, the courage to fight on when all hope seemed lost. Fear and respect in the grand halls of the Coalition. Debates erupted. Some leaders shouted for renewed war, claiming the human ship had simply been lucky. Others argued in hushed tones that fighting humans further would be madness. One alien admiral slammed his claws against the council table. "They are a Deathworld species. Don't you see it? They don't fight like us. They don't surrender like us. They turn weakness into weapons. If a single warship could destroy our armada, imagine what an entire fleet of humans might do." Silence followed his words. The fear was real now. The galaxy had mocked the humans, but no one was laughing anymore. The crew reflects back aboard the Perseverance. The crew gathered in the mess hall. Their uniforms were burned, their hands bruised, but their spirits glowed. Darius raised a mug of recycled water and said with a tired smile, "To the slowest ship in the galaxy, and the most dangerous." The crew laughed softly, the sound breaking their exhaustion. Lyra leaned back, gazing at the ceiling. "Do you think they'll come after us again?" Elias, sitting quietly at the end of the table, answered, "Yes, perhaps not tomorrow, but yes. They will not forgive this, but we have shown them what it means to fight humans, and that lesson will not be forgotten." Kara asked softly, "Captain, why do you think we survived when so many thought we couldn't?" Elias's eyes narrowed as he thought. Then he said, "Because we never believed the lie they told. They said we were too slow, too weak, too few. But we knew the truth. Strength is not in size, but in perseverance. That is why we are still here." The room fell silent, the words sinking deep into every heart. A symbol of hope soon. The Perseverance became more than just a ship. Across human colonies, its name spread like fire. It became a legend told in classrooms, sung in ballads, whispered in prayers. Other species, too, began to admire it. Small oppressed worlds saw hope in its story. If humans could stand against the galaxy's greatest fleet, then maybe they too could rise against their oppressors. The Perseverance was no longer only a warship. It was a symbol. A reminder that no matter how overwhelming the odds, no matter how slow or weak one seemed, Perseverance could turn the tide. The captain's burden yet, for Elias Varn, the victory was not without weight. He knew the galaxy now saw humans differently. Respect was good, but respect built on fear was dangerous. One evening he stood alone on the observation deck watching the stars. Kara joined him quietly. "You're thinking too much again," she said softly. Elias smiled faintly. "That's a captain's job." She leaned on the railing beside him. "They fear us now. They'll think twice before mocking us again." Elias's gaze remained on the stars. "Fear can unite, but it can also divide. We must be careful, Kara. We didn't fight to be feared. We fought to survive." Her voice was steady. "And survive we did." The galaxy shifts weeks later. Ambassadors from alien worlds began arriving at Earth. Some came seeking peace, others seeking alliances. They no longer looked at humans with scorn. They looked with caution, curiosity, even admiration. Human leaders stood taller now. No longer were they the newcomers begging for recognition. They were a people who had proven themselves in the harshest way, but not all eyes looked with kindness. In the dark corners of the galaxy, powerful empires whispered of revenge. Plans were made, secret fleets gathered. The humans had won one battle, but the war for respect and survival was far from over. The final mission of the Perseverance. The Perseverance limped back toward human space. Every system strained, every plate dented. Engineers worked tirelessly to keep it alive. The crew knew the ship deserved rest, yet they also knew it had become more than steel. It was a story now, and stories never rested. As the ship entered orbit around a human colony, thousands of people looked up at the sky, cheering as the battered silhouette appeared. Children waved flags, elders shed tears, and voices rose in celebration. The slow human warship had returned. Legacy, in the years that followed. The Perseverance was repaired and kept as a symbol of humanity's rise. New warships were built, faster and stronger, but all of them carried a piece of its spirit. Designs included tricks and strategies first used by Elias and his crew. Every captain studied its battles, learning the lesson it had taught the galaxy. That lesson was simple. Perseverance is the greatest weapon. Closing scene. On the bridge of the Perseverance, Captain Elias stood with his crew one last time. The ship was no longer headed into battle but into history. He looked at them, each face carrying pride and memory. "We were mocked," he said softly. "We were doubted. They thought we were too slow, too weak. But we showed them what humans truly are. We are not measured by speed or firepower. We are measured by how long we endure." His eyes turned to the stars. "And as long as humanity endures, we will never be broken." The Perseverance, scarred but unyielding, sailed on through the endless night, carrying with it the story of a people who refused to be underestimated. And across the galaxy, no one dared mock the slow human warship again.